Okay, and I have to warn everyone here that I think this is the strangest title for a conference paper I've ever given, in that it sort of starts with three very imposing Sanskrit words or terms that can be understood as meaning consciousness. What I want to do today is to share with you my little journey, my adventure in trying to understand consciousness in relation to the Yoga Sutra, a text I've been working on for publication with Yale. There's a good reason why it's 2 years overdue. It's because of what I'm going to present to you today. An unexpected journey into the nature mainly of Chitta, the term that's sandwiched in between Chit and Chaitanya. There's probably more here than I can go over today, so some of these slides I'll be skipping through, but it'll be there on the recording for people who want to see it later. But the Sanskrit word chitta is a key word for Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, and perhaps even the most important concept of the work. The word chitta appears more than any other word in the sutra, and it is an idea that is developed and focused upon in the sutra more than any other. It is the famous second sutra text in which it is introduced. When translated most literally and simply, it reads as follows. So here, the words are lined up: yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. So yoga is the chitta whose turnings are uprooted. Okay, this is I would even say simplistic translation of the sutra text. And as you will see by the end of today's presentation, I translate it more elaborately to account for its role as a bija for the whole text, the seed sutra text for the whole work. So there you can see. It could also be translated simply this way, mixing up the sequence. Yoga is the uprooting of the turnings of the chitta. Okay. Here, Patanjali launches his work with 4 spare words, albeit richly endowed terms, each word which will reappear in key places throughout the sutra. Thus, the words yoga, chitta, vritti, and nirodha of this key aphorism ideally are translated and rendered in such a way as to anticipate the essential content of the whole sutra. The word chitta appears 21 times throughout the sutra, and as many of you would know, the sutra, the Yoga Sutra, has only 196 aphorisms. So 21 times throughout is really quite a bit. But what's important is that the word is not only mentioned or appears 21 times, but it is pursued in depth in the sutra's discussion. So it is definitely prominent. The word vritti, of course, in its modified forms appears 16 times. The word nirodha appears only 7 times. So yoga is the chitta whose turnings, vritti, are uprooted, nirodha. So how do we translate this word chitta? Now, I will confess to all of you that in other works I've translated, when Sanskrit words are too hard to translate, I leave them in the Sanskrit, like the word dharma. In the Bhagavad Gītā, I leave the word dharma as dharma and explain in a footnote or in the content of the comments what what is involved in understanding the word dharma. And as all of you know, is that it is an extremely rich term applied in so many ways in different contexts. So this word chitta, what does it mean? The word chitta is technically a past passive participle of the verb root chit, which means to perceive or to know, understand, to be aware of, or conscious of. And that's in the Abou dictionary. Indeed, the word chitta, therefore, could easily be seen as a word meaning consciousness. In fact, the word chitta, therefore, could easily be seen. Oh, I've already said that. Okay, sorry for the redundancy there. Let's move on. The word chitta belongs to a family of words from the root and stem form of chit through other verbal and nominative strengthened or expanded forms, all the way up to the ultimate or strongest form of Chaitanya. So we have chit, chitti. Chitti is a word that we find in the very last aphorism of the sutra text. Chitta, and then of course there's chetas, chaitya, chaitana, and then Chaitanya. All of which easily means consciousness, but perhaps on different levels. Sorry for my spelling mistake here. Referring to various layers of consciousness, such as chit meaning the essence or source of consciousness, while Chaitanya at the other end means supreme consciousness of the divine. So the others would be sort of sandwiched in and conveying these layers of consciousness. The word chitta is technically a past passive participle of the verb chit, which is given 4 meanings in Abou's dictionary that reveal aspects of consciousness or chitta. Thought, perception is the first, intelligence, intellect, understanding the second. But look at the third, heart, mind, in the same area of his gloss. And then fourth, the soul, spirit, the animating principle of life. However, while each of these can easily be seen as constituent senses of chitta, and thus are valid translations of the word, by themselves, each translation offers an incomplete treatment of chitta. Now, I think what I'm referring to here, I should have put this slide here. That's fine. While some will translate chitta as consciousness, that's Feuerstein and Iyengar, most commonly the word is translated as mind, Bryant, Timney, or thought by Barbara Miller. Other translations are as follows: the thinking principle, the mind stuff, an awkward phrase, the mental capacity of thought, ordinary awareness, etc. However, while each of these can easily be seen as constituent senses of chitta, and thus are valid translations of the word, for sure, but by themselves, each translation offers an incomplete treatment of chitta, I would proffer. We might ask, why did Patanjali choose this keyword chitta? And this is something that's been plaguing me throughout my work in preparing the book for publication. The word is utilized in Kashmir Shaivism, in Vaibhashika, a Buddhist system, in the Yogacara, Mahayana Buddhist system, and perhaps most significantly, the Sankhya classical school of Indian philosophy. In most cases, the word chitta is translated simply as mind. But I found this incredibly inadequate. It should be noted that each of these 3 most utilized translations for the word chitta have corresponding words in Sanskrit that perhaps more directly carry their meanings. Mind best translates manas. If Patanjali meant mind, why wouldn't he have just used manas? Consciousness more directly translates chit and thought easily translates chinta. So what does Patanjali mean by chitta? Well, each of these three common translations can easily be seen as constituent senses of chitta. And while they each are certainly valid translations of the word, by themselves, they offer incomplete treatment of chitta. So it is noteworthy to point out that the word heart is provided by Apte's dictionary, along with the word mind, on the same line as we've just seen. The word chitta draws from the definitions just described, as they reveal different phases of consciousness, experience, and awareness originating from the mind. But as we shall see in key passages of the Upanishads, Vedanta, and the Bhagavata, the meaning of heart, considered the seat of intellect, apte, opens up new possibilities for the understanding of and translation for the word chitta. Though the word chitta has been most often translated as consciousness, mind, thought, the meaning of heart, more than the other three words, is able to contain the meanings of the other three translations, as indicated in several ways. And although the word heart most directly translates the Sanskrit word hrid or hridaya, it is able to contain the meanings of and even go beyond the other three translations for conveying the rich meanings Patanjali intended for the word chitta. Lexicographers of Sanskrit define the word hrid or hridayam as follows: the heart, soul, mind. So even the word hrid can mean mind. And the heart as the seat of feelings and emotions, soul, mind, as seat of thought and intellectual operations. That's Mona Williams. Also the meanings love and affection, wish, intention, and the interior or essence of anything. Apte offers this. Even in English, the word mind lacks the deeper element of centeredness that the word heart carries. The heart regarded as the center of a person's thoughts and emotions. That's the Oxford English Dictionary. The word mind lacks the depth and essence of self that the word heart carries, though each can convey the sense of thought and even consciousness. The latter certainly carries the sense of awareness, but adds to that the experience and the feelings that come from deep within emotion and that go deep within emotion. Indeed, the heart constitutes a kind of special awareness that goes beyond mind, as both a kind of core awareness and core feeling. It is significant that there are at least 80 instances in which the word chitta appears throughout the Bhagavata Purana, among which roughly 40 instances when the word chitta appears is most easily, appropriately, and in the instances listed below, most often necessarily translated as heart. It is also significant that there are at least 10 different Sanskrit words other than hrid or hridaya that directly mean and therefore translate as heart in the Bhagavata Purana. And I just list them here briefly for your perusal. Words such as antar, ashaya, guha, guashaya, diya, chetas, manas, and then more. Marman, sattva, kutastha, and then, of course, atman. Atman, of course, we all know how complex a word atman is and how important a context-driven meaning will be derived in any given text for this word. But it's just important to note that 82 times of the 2,309 instances in which the word appears in the Bhagavata, 82 times really must be translated as heart. Even the comprehensive analysis of the ways in which the English word heart is used, if it is to be engaged in our translation of chitta, will yield meanings that must be considered at least part of a definition of chitta. Then an analysis of the ways in which the Sanskrit word hrid, or heart, is utilized in the Upanishads and other sacred writings will help us consider or complete our understanding of chitta. Well, what I have found, and we don't have time to go into the incredibly, excruciatingly painful detail in all of this, but what I have found is that heart really works on a kind of biosomatic level. So there's the biosomatic heart. I mean, literally the organ, the biological organ of heart is something to be considered, but also the affective psychic heart, the seat of emotion, the seat of feelings that are found at the core of the human being. We are born with the affective. We are not capable of the cognitive at birth, in infancy. We're not capable of the interactive, really, at infancy. But the affective is alive and well in all infants. So it's something very, very, very much at the core of the human. The etheric heart, and this is where really the heart has the ability to know and to sense things much greater than itself. And then from here, it moves into greater areas. So this is what I've come up with. So the mesodimension of heart really consists of these biosomatic, affective, psychic, and etheric heart. This is the conditioned whole heart. And I now use the word whole in the phrase whole heart, because it's not just the heart. There's something that is so incorporative that must be indicated, the whole heart. And you can see even just in the conditioned state of the human, we're really working from the biosomatic, affective, psychic, and etheric heart. It's in the liberated state, the liberated whole heart, then can expand to a macro dimension of heart and a micro dimension of heart. This completes the wholeness of heart. Yes, in the conditioned state in which all humans find themselves, one is working from these three levels for sure. But as one expands one's awareness, one's consciousness, and this is, of course, the project of yoga and what Patanjali, what his whole system is intended to do, is to expand one from the conditioned state to the liberated state, where one enters into the macro dimension of the heart and micro dimension of the heart. What are these? Let's see here. I'm going to skip this part here, which goes into the physical heart, and then of course the innermost part of the human is what the Upanishads refer to as the space within the heart, Hridayakasha, or what we may call the ethereal heart. The whole heart includes the heart, of course, but must also incorporate all that comes into the space within the heart, as well as the workings within that space. This ethereal space is the mesodimension of the heart, which draws from its deepest recesses, the micro level of the heart, and its outermost realms, the macro level of the heart. So, what are the, let's see here. Let's go to here. So the mesodimension of the heart really is the seat of the soul, the mind, the intelligence, the emotions in the heart, in the human heart, would constitute the mesodimension, okay? The micro dimension of the heart acknowledges that there is an aspect of the heart that is something specifically limited to human nature. I'm sorry, that is a mistake right here. Let's correct that. That's the mesodimension of the heart. Here, the Upanishadic teacher speaks of the mind as located in the space within the heart. There is a space within the heart. In it is the person made of mind, immortal and golden. Taittiriya Upanishad. So this is the mesodimension. It is stated that the human mind as heart, human consciousness, human thought, etc., is listed here. That which is this heart and this mind, that is consciousness in knowledge, perception in knowledge, discernment in knowledge, wisdom in knowledge, intelligence, vision, thought, thoughtful reflection, impulse, remembrance, the mind's or heart's conception, intention, life, desire, volition. Indeed, all these are names of profound knowledge, prajna, Aitareya Upanishad. So the mesodimension is extremely rich. There's so much contained even in the mesodimension of the whole heart. Now, moving to the macro dimension. One of the truly dramatic instances in which the cognitive and affective coalesce in the heart is found at the very start, the first verse of the Bhagavata Purana. It is he who imparted the Vedas to Brahma through the heart unto the one who is the original sage. So Brahma receives knowledge through the heart. Very important. The heart itself is Brahman's dwelling. Space is its support. And even more dramatic, the heart is indeed the supreme Brahman. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So in the interest of time, I need to speed up here a little bit. So this self is in the heart. The space within the heart is as big as this space. Both sky and earth are concentrated within it, both fire and earth. Anyway, it's very dramatic. The macro dimension is extraordinary. What is the micro dimension? Again, I made a mistake here. The micro dimension acknowledges the way the heart can contain both that which is infinite and finite, or that which is universal and the particular at the same time, or the coalescence of divinity with humanity within the heart. So according to the Upanishads, the self, initial uppercase S, is to be distinguished from the self with the lowercase s, is located within the heart. Even the very living soul of the human or the self is situated within the heart. Truly, that self is in the heart, and so on. And so it further expands. Let's see here. My slides are a little bit out of order here. The important thing to understand is that the flow of the heart is the life energy coming from the Atman. So this is the mesodimension. Yet the Atman is situated in the heart. So the life energy, the heart, the flow of the heart comes from the Atman, but the Atman is situated in the heart. The whole person is located in the heart and emanates from the heart. The flow of the heart is the energy of the conditioned or liberated person, the Kshara Purusha or the Akshara Purusha, respectively. These terms are found in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gītā, and so on. So it goes on. The macro dimension is the heart as it is connected to absolute reality. The city of Brahman is in the heart. The indwelling divinity, the Antaryaman, is situated in the heart. The sacred utterance, Om, joins the heart with the totality of reality in the practice of japa, according to the Yoga Sutra. The micro dimension is the divine center of all reality, Ishvara, when it is discovered by moving deeply into the space within the heart. So the micro dimension is the presence of divinity within the heart. So I am the innermost heart, Krishna says in the Gita, for I am the self-dwelling within all hearts. The Supreme Lord of all beings is present within the inner region of the heart. This is the micro dimension. Now, what is important to note is that the all-embracing divine reality, which is Kaivalya, these distinctions between meso, macro, and micro disappear in the state of Kaivalya, the all-embracing divine reality. Yoga is the return embrace of the all-embracing divine reality with the whole heart. So now you know what I mean by the whole heart. So simply translating this second sutra text in this way is just not adequate. And even if we say yoga is the whole heart, as its conditioned turnings become uprooted, it still needs embellishment to be truly a seed aphorism for the whole text. So yoga here is really referring to a transformation. That's what yoga is about. Yoga is about a transformation of the whole heart as its conditioned turnings become uprooted. And I take it even further, ladies and gentlemen. I take it further and see this as a double entendre. I translate vritti nirodha. I give it a double translation. Yoga is a transformation of the whole heart as its conditioned turnings become uprooted. Okay, so that's the conditioned state. One is emerging from the conditioned state, from the meso conditioned state, and now so its pure turnings can take root and flower. Nirodha, root, root, nirodha, flower. So it's pure turnings. So really, vritti is both the conditioned turnings and the pure turnings can now take root and flower. And where do I get this? I get this, here you can see the double translation here on the side. Where do I get this? From the Vibhuti-pada text 9, where Nirodha is referred to in three different ways. The word Nirodha appears three different times in the condition, referring to the conditioned state, Nirodha Sanskara, Nirodha Chitanvaya, the enlightened state, and then Nirodha Parinama, the transformed state, transformation from the first to the second state, from the conditioned state to the pure state. So then, of course, the following sutra text, then when this occurs, one truly sees into one's own essential nature, dwelling ever so deeply within. I'm going to leave you with a couple of texts before I end and open for any comments or questions. But here, the word heart and chitta appear in the same sutra text in the Yoga Sutra. I believe this is 334, third pada, Vibhuti-pada, 34th sutra text. Hridaye chitta samvit. So from deep within the heart and what flows from it, one can realize that it is in one's whole heart that consciousness dwells, the very place from which it expands. So I'm really milking each of the Sanskrit words here. Hridaye, of course, the word hridaya is not hrid. They're often considered synonymous, hrid and hridaya. But hrid is coupled with this affix of aya, which means flow, the flow of the heart. So from deep within the heart and what flows from it, one can realize that it is in one's whole heart, chitta, that consciousness dwells. samvit, the very place from which it expands. So we go into the heart to realize the whole heart. That's the idea. And finally, I want to show you an aphorism, which we don't have time to go into in great depth here, but to wind up my talk, I want to show you how Patanjali resorts to metaphor to express this transformation from the conditioned state to the liberated state, and the turnings associated with them. So, Shina vriter abhijata syeva maner grahitra grahana grahyeshu. Okay, so when the turning has ceased, Patanjali speaking about the conditioned turning. But listen to this metaphor. When that which is inborn shines forth like a jewel. Beautiful. A jewel is only able to shine as it turns in the light with its facets, catching the light. And the soul is likened unto that jewel, which catches the light of the divine. So this is the liberated state. And then, of course, this is the state of samapatti, the coming together of the meditator with the meditated object. And the idea then is that really this is the state of kaivalya. This is the state of the meso, macro, and micro dimensions of the heart, all converging into a total state of a return embrace of the divine as the divine embraces the self. And it is that state. It is that state of meditation in which one is fully absorbed, is that state of becoming anointed. So the term anjanata, notice the abstract suffix. It's a state of being massaged by the object of meditation. So the macro dimension and the micro dimensions of the heart are not just passively entered into, but actively entered into and actively reciprocated from in those levels of macro and micro. So the divine within and the divine without also are experienced as embracing the self. And yoga then is the return embrace. And this is the ultimate turning, one could say. Rasotsava sampravritta, the perfect turning of the circle of Gopi Mandala Manditaha. This is quite a jump, but I just thought I would leave you with this beautiful image and say thank you.
Thank you, Professor Schweig. You did a beautiful job by taking us from Chit to Chitta to Hridaya, then micro, meso, macro dimension of the heart, and ultimately talking about that how Chitta finally refers to the whole heart, where there is a union of the consciousness and absolute consciousness. Thank you for your beautiful explanation, and then ending with the beautiful rasa circle.
Mandala, yeah.
Rasa
the
mandala.
Rasa Mandala, yes.
So now the forum is open for question. Let me look at the chat box. Okay, Ram Chobe is asking, what does chitti means?
Okay, chitti. Now, Ram has misspelled chitti. It's only one T. So chit is the neuter form of sort of, it's a neuter gendered stem, noun stem, but chitti is the feminine divine energy. That is the feminine divine, and that is something so surprising at the end of the Yoga Sutra text, where the Chitti Shakti is spoken of here. And everyone who translates the Yoga Sutra seems to ignore that aspect. They just basically say consciousness or energy, the Chitti Shakti. But Chitti Shakti is the divine feminine energy. And so I come right out and say it. One is linked in yoga to supreme consciousness by the divine feminine energy, Chitti Shakti, Iti. It ends with Iti. It is thus so. So it's a real shocker at the end. But I tried to stay very loyal to the text, what is being said in the text. Patanjali didn't say Chit Shakti, he said Chitti Shakti. We must take that seriously. It's subtle but powerful. Thanks for asking.
Okay, so now there is a question. What happens to our Chitta and Chit when one faces near-death experience?
Oh, so,
This
okay, well.
Paladas. This is by Nilut Paladas.
Yes, thank you. Okay, and I have to be brief here, but the much of the energy from the meso dimension is withdrawn into the heart, and then because obviously there's no external activity. It's very much like what happens when we go into deep sleep. The chitta energy, the flow from the heart, is withdrawn into the heart, and then waits for the next arena. Now, of course, in the instance of deep sleep, we wake up, and then it gets reactivated into all the meso dimensions. But the macro and micro dimension in the liberated state, if one is close to death, then one is those are still very active for the liberated soul. So while the meso dimension it withdraws its energy from those levels, they're very still active with the micro and macro levels. Now, if we're still in a conditioned state, we do not have a relationship, a conscious relationship with macro and micro levels of the heart. So therefore, we come back into another conditioned form. And the Chitta then expands, yeah.
Yeah, the next question is by Vibhor Khanna. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Vibhor?
First of all, good evening, sir. I would really like to congratulate for your presentation. It was very nice. Sir, I wanted to ask one thing, that how can a normal person like me can explore the extreme power of consciousness in his or her heart that lies beneath?
Yes, and that is exactly what Patanjali responds to in his work of the Yoga Sutra. I would also say that the Bhagavad Gītā really addresses that very question. Now, of course, the Gita is powerful. I mean, it is extraordinary. The Gita, unlike any other major sacred text in the world, like the Bible and the Quran, the Gita begins with the conditioned state, as represented by Arjuna's trauma. And this is where, Arjuna's trauma, it represents how do we get out of this conditioned state of consciousness. And of course, Krishna is a superb tutor and mentor, and ushers Arjuna out of that state. And what does he say primarily? Be a yogi, Arjuna. Go within, practice yoga, find your heart, find me in your heart, Krishna says. And then he ultimately has Arjuna appreciating how Bhagavan is right there in front of him. So we as conditioned souls have yet to appreciate and realize the macro and micro dimensions of the heart in which divinity can appear right before us, as he did with Arjuna. So this is, your question is right on mark, because that's the whole project. The whole purpose of the human life is to enter into these higher realms of consciousness. And that's what both the Gita and the Yoga Sutra really guide us to do.
Thank you, Professor Schweig, for your beautiful and very lively presentation. And we are now, we are short of time now. There are many other questions also, but we will have probably some other arrangement by which you can answer to those questions. On behalf of Institute of Science and Spirituality, I thank you. I gratefully acknowledge your time and your efforts in enlightening our gathering. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, sir. All the best.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.